Welcome to episode number 27 of the Dugout Report. I am here with Michael Duarte, recapping game one of uh, three-game series against uh, between the Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants, and I'm excited to hear what his thoughts are. So welcome.
Yeah, Alex, thanks for having me. It's been a little bit of a while since I've come on your show, but I always love doing it. So I'm excited. Yes, it's the first game of the rivalry series between the Dodgers and Giants, but the Dodgers are, shoot, 7 games into the season already. It's crazy to think about because it feels like it's been 2 games, but the Dodgers are already 7 games into the season.
Um, I did some note taking, and I saw that uh, the trio of Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman are combined with 6 hits with 4 extra bases ended up in at bats. What do you think about that stat?
Well, Alex, first and foremost, I need you to refer to them, what we are referring to them here in Los Angeles, as the MV3, right? Three former MVPs with Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Shohei Ohtani. And so we call them the MV3. Now, what I need is for when Clayton Kershaw comes back, probably like late July, early August, for just one game, I need Dave Roberts to bat him cleanup. So it could be the MV4, and they can have 4 MVPs, 1 through 4 in the batting order. But yeah, so we're calling him the MV3, and we're talking about Mookie Betts batting 520 to start the season. Again, this isn't 2 games or 3 games like some of these teams. I know the Phillies had a game rained out, so they're only a few games into the season. This is 7 games into the season. Mookie Betts has batting 520, 13 hits, 3 doubles, 1 triple, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, 12 runs scored. I mean, that's for some guys in the league, that's like great numbers just to have for the whole season. And Mookie's done it in 7 games. Like I said, then you have Freddie Freeman, who led the league in doubles last year, set the Dodgers all-time franchise record here in Los Angeles for doubles. He had 2 doubles tonight. He's batting 360 on the season and over 500 with runners in scoring position. And the funny thing is, the reigning AL MVP, the $700 million man, Shohei Ohtani, he actually hasn't been hitting the ball that great. 267 on the year. But he's got 3 doubles already. He's still looking for that elusive home run. The guy that, hit 44 home runs last year. He still hasn't hit one yet this year. Teoscar Hernandez and Mookie Betts lead the team respectively with 4 each. So I think he's got 2 more games. I hope he hits his first home run as a Dodger in these next 2 games, especially against the Giants. I want to see him do it at home because they're just going to go crazy at Dodger Stadium once he finally does it. But yeah, that MV3 trio, and I'm going to include Will Smith in there. You didn't mention Will Smith, the new $160 million man, catcher for the Dodgers. He's leading every catcher in Major League Baseball right now in hitting. He's batting 500 to start the season. 12 hits, 2 doubles, 6 RBIs, 2 runs scored. He's just been a machine at the plate. He's doing absolutely very well. So that first 4 in the lineup, it's like spamming your inbox, Alex. You don't want to see it.
Um, what are your thoughts on the rest of the lineup going for 1 for 19?
Yeah. So look, what my thoughts are, it's not great that right now the Dodgers are a top heavy lineup. I think that one of the most underrated signings that they did in the offseason, obviously in an offseason where you spent close to $1.5 billion and you
Mhm.
signed Shohei Ohtani, the 2-time AL MVP, the greatest thing in baseball since Babe Ruth. You go out and sign the 3-time Cy Young equivalent in Japan, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, one of the most highly touted pitching prospects to ever come out of Japan. You sign him. You re-sign Clayton Kershaw. You re-sign Jason Hayward. You bring a lot of these guys back, but I think the most underrated acquisition was signing Teoscar Hernandez. This is a guy who was a former All-Star with the Toronto Blue Jays. Very, very good. Had a year with the Seattle Mariners where he struggled, but it just seems like he rakes against left-handed pitching, and he's absolutely crushing it for the Dodgers right now. You could make a case after hitting another home run tonight, a 3-run shot, that up there with Mookie Betts, he's the MVP so far through the first week of the season for the Dodgers. So that's a guy that is an extremely underrated signing. And so you're right, though, right? The 1 through 4, the MV3 is doing fine. Shohei Ohtani a little bit down right now of the three of them, but he'll come back. Will Smith is crushing it. Max Muncy and Teoscar Hernandez absolutely crushing it. But now you look at the three that you mentioned, whether it's James Outman, and that is the biggest one for me. I've been tweeting about it, Alex. James
Mhm.
Outman, starting center fielder for the Dodgers, finished as a finalist, I believe, for the National League Rookie of the Year last year. You could have made a case for him halfway through the season that he was the National League Rookie of the Year. He's right now starting the season off with a sophomore slump. It seems like he can't hit the broadside of a barn. He's batting under 100 right now on the season. I believe he's like 2 for 21 or something like that. He's just not seeing the ball well. And the biggest thing to me about that is, look, you can struggle, you can be slumping, and some guys you'll see, like we were just talking about Bryce Harper, right? Bryce Harper 0 for 5 today, but like you can have an 0 for up there, but if you're hitting the ball well, like if you're hitting it hard, just hitting it right at guys and it's an out, that's okay because you're hitting the ball hard somewhere. James Outman is not hitting the ball hard at all. One of those two hits is a little blooping infield single.
Mhm.
The biggest thing to me was, look, the Dodgers are two really, really bad 5-run innings away from being undefeated on the season. They had that horrific start in Yamamoto in Korea in that second game where he gave up 5 runs in the first inning. They end up losing that game in a close game. They had come back and almost tied it a bunch of times. So if you don't have that collapse of a first inning, maybe you sweep that Seoul series. And then the Dodgers come all the way back against the Cardinals the other night. They go into extra innings, and you have a runner on second to start these extra innings. It's a rule that's been around now. I think this is the 4th year going. The biggest strategy is whoever comes up, just whatever you do, get the runner to third so he can score on a sac fly. He can score on a ground ball to the right side of the infield. He can score on a single. A lot can happen. James Outman led off that inning with Teoscar Hernandez as the ghost runner on second base, and he swung at 3 horrible pitches in the dirt and struck out. Did not even put the ball in play. That's when you know a guy's struggling at the plate. He's struggling to see the ball. All he needed to do there was just make contact, and you've done your job. You've moved the runner to third. He wasn't even able to do that. He could have bunted and done that and didn't do that. So that's a bad sign for me. And what I think happens in baseball is it's a cat and mouse game. You hear that all the time, right? You start to get guys on tape. You start to see them. You start to get used to them. You start to find their cold zones. You start to find their weaknesses. So when James Outman first came up for the Dodgers, not a lot of pitchers had seen him in the National League. Not a lot of guys knew much about him. The scouting report was still raw, and he had some success. Now they've adapted. They have a game plan going against them. They know what they want to do. They know how they want to attack them. So James Outman now needs to play that cat and mouse game. He needs to make adjustments back at these pitchers. If you're going to pitch me in, for example, I'm going to take a step back off the plate. If you're going to throw me at fastballs, I'm going to go back in the box. So I don't know what it is. I haven't looked at the tape yet, but he's struggling for sure. And I think it's because the league has adjusted to him and now he needs to adjust back. Gavin Lux, this is a guy that missed all of last season with a torn ACL in his knee. This was a year he was supposed to be the starting shortstop for the Los Angeles Dodgers. This year was that same thing again, only he struggled on defense. He got moved to second base before they left to go to Seoul, to South Korea. Mookie Betts is now your starting shortstop. Never thought I would say those words in my life, but here we are. And so I'm not sure if the disappointment of not being the starting shortstop and moving to second base is getting to him. This is a guy, Alex, that batted over 400 in an entire season in AAA Oklahoma City a few years ago. He's a very good hitter. He doesn't really hit for power, but he's kind of like Freddie Freeman, and that's a guy that he's been learning under the last few years since Freddie's been in LA. That's a guy, Freddie Freeman, who hits for average. I think he finished second for the batting title last year. So I don't know if he needs to have another lesson with Freddie Freeman or what, but right now he's batting 174 on the year, 4 hits. And like I said, a couple of those are infield singles. There's another guy who's not seeing the ball well. And then you got the guys like the utility guys, right? The Chris Taylors, the Kike Hernandezes out there, the Jason Haywards. I don't necessarily expect those guys to be batting the ball around the field. But if they can bat above the Mendoza line this year, like above 200, those guys that aren't going to play every day, but play maybe, you know, start against lefty righties, matchup dependent. I think those guys, if they can bat above 200, that's fine. But I really, really want to see more from James Outman and Gavin Lux. Otherwise, you might have to think about benching James Outman, sending him down to AAA, letting him get his swing right, letting him get some experience and playing around. You have the depth to do it. You can start Kike Hernandez in center. You can start Mookie Betts in center if you want. This team is so stacked and they're like a Swiss Army knife, right? There's nothing you can't do. You can move all these pieces everywhere. So if this continues with Outman, you might want to send him down and see what they can do. But I need to see more from Outman and Lux specifically.
What are your thoughts on the rest of the series? And do you see the Giants sneaking in a win or not?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about tonight was a matchup of the five spot in the starting pitching rotations for both the Dodgers and the Giants. So in the case of the Dodgers, we got to see another under the radar signing that the Dodgers made in the offseason that no one was talking about. James Paxton, the big maple, a guy who just a few years ago when he was with the Mariners was one of those guys who was a sneaky Cy Young pick for some people. Kind of got traded to the Yankees, fell off the radar, fell off the map. This is one of those reclamation projects the Dodgers are known for, whether it was Tyler Anderson a couple years ago for this team before he went to the Angels, or, I know they missed on Noah Syndergaard last year. They were trying to see if that was the project, but they're really good at taking guys that, are struggling, having a down year, kind of putting him under the Dodgers wing with pitching coach Mark Pryor and then the bullpen out there and really turning him into some good seeing. So to see him throw 5 scoreless innings, even though he had 5 walks in there, that was a good sign. And for the Giants, like you were going with your 5th starter out there, the Giants are not very deep when it comes to their starting rotation, but their front 2 are nasty. And the 1-2 equivalent of Logan Webb and Blake Snell is arguably, you could say, the best 1-2 punch for starting pitching in baseball. The Dodgers have a great 1-2 punch, but they're really deep, which is going to be their advantage this year. The Diamondbacks have a good 1-2 punch with Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly. Now you got some other guys in the mix. The Padres have Yu Darvish, and they went out and got Dylan Cease. That's a really good 1-2 punch as well. So the NL West has a lot of good starting pitching, a lot of good 1-2 punch pitchers. And you know this well. The Phillies have a great 1-2 punch with Wheeler and Nola as well. So when you're throwing Logan Webb out there in game 2 of this series and probable Blake Snell for game 3 of this series and the finale on Wednesday, I think there's a very, very good chance if you're the Giants to win one or both of those games because you got your 2 best pitchers going. And if you're the Dodgers, you like your matchup too. You got Tyler Glasnow coming back in game 1 at home. He's going to be playing in front of friends and family. He's starting to find a rhythm. This is a guy who, he's also finished as a Cy Young finalist, pitched in the World Series against the Dodgers in 2020. He's not a shabby pitcher, but I kind of like Logan Webb slightly over him come Tuesday night. And then a great pitching matchup when Blake Snell, the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner, against rookie, now a sophomore, Bobby Miller, who threw 11 strikeouts, career high in his opening start at Dodger Stadium, his first start of the season. So I like these pitching matchups, but I think they both lean towards the Giants in games 2 and 3 of this series.
What are your thoughts on their next series? And do you think that they can have the chance to sweep it?
Yeah, Thursday's a travel day, but you're going to head to Chicago, to Wrigley Field, a place that you've played a lot of playoff games over the years, and you get to reunite with old friend Cody Bellinger, which I think is nice if you're the Dodgers. And then at the same time, it's going to be very interesting because what you're going to see from the Cubs is Yoshinobu Yamamoto probably starting the first game of that series. And then you have a fellow Japanese countryman playing for the Cubs. That in Shota Imanga, who's so on the mound there. I don't know if you're going to see that matchup, but that would be a great matchup to see if they come out. But the Cubs have a couple Japanese players as well. The Cubs were in on Shohei Ohtani. They were in on Yamamoto. So it'll be interesting for them to see these guys together for the Dodgers up close and personal. But I know the Cubs have struggled so far out of the gate in their first series of the season. So they might not be finding their rhythm yet. I know the Cubs were a sexy pick to win the NL Central this year. But I think the Brewers, Reds, even the Pirates sweeping their first series over the Marlins have something to say about that. So that Central could be an interesting race. The Cardinals are improved as well. If the Dodgers can, what I'll say is, what I'll say, Alex, is sometimes when you get a team matters, right? Like you probably
Mhm.
didn't want to face the Mets early in the season last year. But then by the time they blew that team up and they traded away Max Scherzer and they traded Justin Verlander and they traded away those pieces, you would have loved to have played the Mets at the end of the season, right?
Yeah.
So if the Cubs are struggling out of the gate, if the Dodgers can go to Chicago and take that series, I think getting that out of the way early compared to maybe when the Cubs find their groove late in the season and are playing really well, that might favor the Dodgers because the Dodgers are coming in hot, playing 7 games, winning series. And so if they can do so and steal a couple of these games from the Cubs, I think that bodes well for them. And then I think they have the Nationals after that, if I'm not mistaken. I have to check the schedule, but their first long road trip of the season is definitely one I think that they can take both series in before they come home. And then I think they have the Padres rematch of that Seoul series and then the Nationals after that. And I know the Nationals are improved, but those are series that they need to win.
I wanted to squeeze in some Phillies talk, and I wanted to get your thoughts on the start of the season and how do you think it will lean toward uh because they've been in a pretty bad slump lately, and I know it's only a couple of games in, but uh it seems like they are just not themselves.
Yeah, and going back to what I said before, they actually go to Minnesota, not Washington, after the Cubs. That's going to be an interesting series. It's probably really freaking cold in Minnesota here in April. It's not
Yeah.
like Minnesota in July. But to your point, let's talk about the Phillies, right? 4 games in already, not quite themselves. Right now, Alex Bohm looks like the best hitter on the team through the first 4 games. Bryce Harper is 0 for 5. Um, He's got a couple walks, but 5 strikeouts is kind of a little uncharacteristic of him. Nick Castellanos hasn't been hitting the way he has. Trey Turner, I know he had that big game the other night to really help them, but he's not he's hitting kind of where he is out of the gate. But we're used to him hitting around 300, so they're coming out sluggish out of the gate. But honestly, I really wouldn't worry about them. I think everyone believes that the NL East is the Braves' division to win. I think the Phillies just need to kind of slot in there in second place. The Mets are on a down year. The Nationals are on the come up slightly, but I don't think they're ready to compete for a playoff spot quite yet. I know the Marlins snuck in there last year. I'm not sure if they're a playoff team this year. It just depends. So I think the Phillies just need to keep their head above water, keep within striking distance of the Braves, because what we know about the Phillies here in the last 2 postseasons is they are a team built for the playoffs. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
what seed they are, they can do some damage and go deep. And when you have a 1-2 punch, like we talked about, of Nola and Wheeler, and you have big game players like Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, JT Realmuto, like those guys are always going to play up, especially when the lights are the brightest. So yeah, they're struggling a little bit out of the gate, but it's so early. It's April. It doesn't really matter. And one thing I can tell you, Alex, from covering the Dodgers now, this is my 11th year covering the Dodgers, my 11th season. What they do so well compared to any other team is they are a regular season juggernaut. And they are able to do that because of depth and also because when teams start to fall off in the what we call the dog days of summer and people are kind of just going through the motions and rhythms, you're 100 games into the season and you still got 60 to go and it's July
Mhm.
and August, and you're just kind of waiting for September to come around. That's when the Dodgers start to win at like a 700 clip, right? That's when they're winning 7 out of every 10 games and they're just slowly either catching whoever's ahead of them or they're pulling away from the pack. And so I think the Phillies need to take a page out of them, keep close here in April, May. do a little good in June, but win July and August. Like make
Mhm.
those your two best months. And I think you'll get within striking distance of the Braves, or if not past the Braves, maybe, and just set yourself up perfectly for the playoffs. And I think if you're the Phillies, that's kind of the model you want to run through, which is just have a really good summer. Keep your head above water here in the spring, but have a really good summer. And that's what's going to separate you from everybody else in the National League, especially in the NL East.
I think they start their road trip, I think the start of August at Seattle, and then I think they go to the Dodgers, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't have them in April against the Dodgers. I don't have them playing the Dodgers until,
I think it's August.
yeah, I don't have them not in July. They have three at Dodger Stadium, July 9th, 10th, and 11th. And then Dodgers go to Philly August 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Oh, okay.
But coming up here, you got three games at Washington after the Reds. That's a series you need to win
Hmm.
if you're the Phillies. Three against the Cardinals. Again, don't have to win them all, but that's a series you need to win. Then you got four against the Pirates. And the Pirates, they're a sneaky team. They play kind of streaky, right? Like they can have a really good month and they can have a really bad month. And so maybe
Hmm.
this is a really hot month for them and you never know. But then after that, the schedule kind of goes in the Phillies' favor. You got three against Colorado at home. Colorado is awful this year. You can win all three of those games. Three against the White Sox. The White Sox are awful. You can win all three of those games. And the next thing you might be in first place after that little stretch there, or right up there with the Braves. So, like I said, I know they're kind of struggling out of the gate. It's so early. It's such a small sample size, but I think they'll be just fine. And really, for them, just get one of those wild card spots and then go in and make a deep playoff run.
I definitely like your insight on the Phillies, and um, I love talking Dodgers baseball with you and having your perspective on them of how they played last night. And I hope to have you back on soon.
Yeah, thank you. I know you got some good news as well with Joel Embiid coming back from his knee injury. We're going to basketball for baseball, but I think that's going to be huge for the Phillies as they try and crawl out of that play-in tournament a little bit. So I think it's going to be really good here for the final stretch to get him back.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it.